Hi, this is Sweet Life and I'm Natasha, back with a recipe for making green beans almondine. I love green beans. In particular, I like the skinny green beans, otherwise known as haricot vert. Most of us can use more vegetables in our diet, and this is a recipe that kind of takes a vegetable that we might think of as just being, ho-hum and basic, but punching it up by adding in different flavors, layers of complexity. So you have the fresh snap of the green beans, you've got a little bit of fatty richness from the bacon, as well as the warm nutty flavor from the brown butter that then complements the toasted almonds. In addition to that, we have our garlic, we have a little bit of spice from the crushed red pepper flakes, and it all just comes together for a really nice recipe that would go great on a weeknight table, but it's also fancy enough for Sunday dinner or even a holiday meal.
Right. I like green beans a lot. I think almonds are okay, but I like really good green beans. I eat green beans quite frequently and was looking for a different way of making them. Something not too complicated or fussy. I do not like green bean casserole, but something a little bit different. Just a different take on green beans.
And while the name of this recipe is green beans almondine, don't let the name fool you. It's pretty much just a fancy name for green beans with almonds.
And so what I have here is about 3 or so pounds of green beans, and all I've done is I've left on like this little end here, but I've just cut off the stem end on all of them, and I went through and picked them out, made sure like the rough raggedy looking ones that I pulled those out, and so these are all trimmed up. You can actually buy trimmed green beans from some grocery stores, but this is what they had. And it really just took me a few minutes to go through and trim off the stem ends. So I have this, I've just trimmed them up, I've rinsed it, and I have a pot with some boiling water on the stove right now, to which I added quite a bit of salt.
You actually want the water to be quite salty. Give it a taste, make sure it's pretty salty. And this is what we're going to par cook the green beans in. We're actually going to cook them in 2 phases. The first phase is really just going to blanch it, and the second is going to be to cook it with all of the accoutrements.
Actually, the beans that I'm using are these French green beans, or I believe they call them haricot vert. So they're like skinnier than the regular green beans. I actually like these. I don't like the other ones. I feel like they can be a little waxy, and the texture, waxy might not be the term. I don't like the texture of them, right? Like they remind me of like those mushy green beans that you get in like vegetable mix. But I like these because they're thinner, they're snappier. I find they have a lot of really good flavor when you get them fresh. So this is what I'm using. Before you cook it, it has like a sometimes almost sweet kind of flavor. In a way, it kind of reminds me of not quite to the level of, say, snow peas, but it has that kind of texture, but it has a little bit of crunch to it. And it has a somewhat lightly sweet flavor, like snow peas or sugar snap peas. Similar texture as well.
Blanching the green beans does 2 things. First, it's going to help keep that nice, vibrant green color. And then also putting it into this salty water, where we're not going to fully cook it at this point, right? We're just par cooking it. But it's going to help impart some salt into the green beans, helping to flavor it throughout. And then we're just going to add on more flavor with the other items that we add in the second phase of cooking.
So putting the salt in helps to retain the that bright green color. And we're just gonna let this do its thing for a couple of minutes. Again, we're not trying to fully cook it. You don't want it to be mushy, but we're just gonna give it a few minutes in there. So now then, these are the green beans. They've been gone for just a few minutes now. I'm actually, maybe 4 or 5 minutes or so. I'm actually gonna take them out of the water now. I'm just gonna empty the pot. It's like, it still has a bit of crunch to it. It could actually use just a little bit more cooking, so now is the perfect time.
For the first step, we're just going to boil the green beans, just to kind of take a little bit of the rawness away. We're not going to cook it until it's mushy or even cooked all the way through. It's really just to kind of take a little bit of the edge off, right? If you think of it like when you make pasta and you cook it to being al dente, where it's cooked most of the way through, but there's just a little bit of bite there. That's what we're looking for here. You don't want to take it too far. You don't want to take it to the point where it's starting to get soft, because by the time we do the second phase of cooking, you run the risk of it then just being mushy.
And I'm lowering the fire because I want it to brown, but I don't want it to burn. So I'm just going to let that melt.
Take care that you don't put too much water into the pot so that when you add the green beans, it doesn't overflow. And then also don't just like dump the green beans in because you don't want this water to splash on you.
I have some bacon here that I'm just chopping up. This is cooked already, but it's not like all the way crisp, right? We don't want it to burn. So I'm just chopping it up into some more manageable sized pieces because you want to get a little bit of this in like every bite or as close to it as possible. And this is actually like reduced sodium bacon so that it's not quite so salty. You can use whatever flavor or type of bacon you like.
Traditionally, green beans almondine uses melted butter, but I find that brown butter has like a slightly different flavor. It's warmer in flavor, if that makes sense. It's a bit more complex, but yet I don't want to burn the butter, right? I just want to brown it. So you get like those little brown bits and whatnot in the butter. We're going to take it from just simply being melted to being brown, and that's just going to add a slightly more complex, almost nutty flavor to the green beans. And combined with the almonds, it's just going to add like something a little extra.
Back over now to our brown butter. And to this, I'm actually going to add the almonds.
If you wanted, you could use whole almonds, but I would recommend using either the sliced or slivered almonds. The reason being, I think it's just easier to mix into the green beans. It'll help to ensure that you get a little bit in every bite, and I think it would just be easier to eat than, with the whole almonds. We're going to try to soften them a little bit, and with the whole almonds, I don't think they would soften as much. You'd have to cook them a bit more. I know that almonds can be a bit pricey, but a little actually goes a long way here. So just a packet of almonds is going to be more than enough, like the small baking packet.
So you can see here, the almonds are just cooking away. The fire is actually quite low. And that's it. We're just going to keep moving them around. And it's just picking up color. Just to give you a comparison, if you look at the almonds in the pan, like how brown they are versus, right, like the uncooked almonds. Right, so you can just see like the color difference between the two. Those are just about done.
And next, to add a little bit of heat, though it is optional,
a teaspoon of crushed red pepper, like the flakes. I'm gonna add in some garlic.
And just to help brighten up the flavor, add a bit of complexity, a little bit of lemon juice. Most of us can use more vegetables in our diet, and this is a recipe that kind of takes a vegetable that we might think of as just being, ho-hum and basic, but punching it up by adding in different flavors, layers of complexity. So you have the fresh snap of the green beans, you've got a little bit of fatty richness from the bacon, as well as the warm nutty flavor.
And then the bacon that I chopped up earlier. And now I'm going to turn the fire back on. And this I'm just going to blend together. And I don't enjoy the taste of raw garlic, so I'm just going to let this cook for a few minutes. And I've just got this going. Really, it's just to kind of cook the garlic. I don't want the fire too high. Alright, we should be good to go. And now I'm going to start putting over the green beans. Alright, that's about half of them. And actually, I think I'm going to switch from tongs to a spoon so I can make sure I get all of this business mixed in. Alright, so now then, the green beans have just been cooking for about a minute or two with the lid on. And I'm just going to give it a taste at this point. In this case, I'm actually going to add just a little bit of salt and a sprinkling of black pepper. Just about that much salt. A pinch or two. I'm going to give that a stir and see how it tastes. Okay. Grab another green bean and give it a taste. Think we're getting there. Just a little tip more salt. And I'm actually going to add just a sprinkle of black pepper. And that's it.
Instead of making the same old sides, you can put this together. It comes together quite quickly, fairly easily, and you get a lot of flavor. It's a little bit different. It's a nice departure from just your regular green bean recipe. And as a side, it's very flexible as it can go with a lot of main dishes, and I think it's a wonderful addition to any table.
Thanks for tuning in. To ensure you don't miss any episodes, subscribe to the channel, click the notification bell, and check out my cooking at home playlist. Go ahead and click that thumbs up button if you like what you saw, and go ahead and share it on social media.